was a joke.
It was an odd selection, but it's not necessarily in stone that it's not a player. Gabe Perreault signed yesterday. That was tough.
Yeah, that's tough. And then there's that flip side. If you trade your first, what could you have gotten? Right? That you never know. You can't trade a first. Don't trade a first. Keep draft and develop. And then
why is that guy signing depressing?
Because Gabe Perreault set the U.S. national development team scoring record and was best player available by some guys when the Flames stepped up and selected Sam Honzek, who was a late birthday, injury riddled, not sure if he's a center or not. I think he could still be a good middle six winger in the NHL, but the ship has sailed to be a star, in my opinion.
He's not even a center?
No.
I thought he was going to be our big Honzek Kopitar.
Sure.
So how far was that draft?
I'm just going to Nashville.
Already we're throwing in the fucking towel?
Jeez, I had scar, yes.
Jack.
He could be a good winger on a second or third line.
I don't feel your truth or faith in that comment, Ryan. Usually there's more passion when you have
we were there. I remember talking to Dean, and he's like, "You hate this pick." I'm like, honestly, I don't know anything about this kid. I just saw all these names sliding. We didn't think the Flames were gonna be able to pick, and I haven't watched Honzek's film. I don't know anything about him. Guys in my crib like, he did a really good season, but it just seemed like there was more risk than you needed to inherit.
Jankowski is what it seemed
Mark's
like.
having a great year.
Sorry.
Yeah,
kids.
I have the video.
I get wound up sometimes about stupid things when you try to be smarter than everyone else.
It was the video from not the draft floor, but the media area.
Yeah,
it's like, so Ryan got the camera. Thoughts on the pick? I don't know who this is.
And we knew he was a guy that could go in the first. It just wasn't a guy you'd considered in the top 16. I think they picked 16 that year.
So that's not trying to be.
Well, no, look, they just might have, all their scouts I don't think they're saying, let's go genius brain and, really show everyone how smart. I think they might have just really liked the kid.
They really liked the kid.
And Connie had a lot of viewings with him, and he said he went to like a bunch of times in live where he put the team on his...
Did he make the team this year? Now you guys hate him?
Not hating him. I just want expectations to be realistic. I don't think he's going to be a top 2 center in the NHL.
Horseshit pick then.
This has changed from the start of the year where you were saying this is a bad pick and you were trying to defend him.
Well, he had a great Penticton. He made the team. He probably shouldn't have. You knew he'd be down right away, and he was. And he's been hurt again. So it's a third season in a row that he's missed significant time with multiple injuries.
I just don't like... You don't wish for a kid to
you don't.
Poorly.
I'd love him to be a powerful puck-protecting 25-goal winger. That's still a really nice
what else
piece.
You don't wish for? Is your organization to do, we're going to outsmart some people and take this guy because he's going to...
But do you think that's what they're saying?
Well, of course they're not saying it, Ryan, but they've clearly fucking believed it because they took him.
Yeah, so maybe they just made a mistake. Or the guy's been injured.
But that's the point. Don't make that mistake. Pick the fucking best player.
Yeah, and what is he if he hasn't lost half of each of the last 2 seasons? We'll never know. But I don't necessarily think it means you're trying to outsmart someone if you just thought he was the best guy and you were wrong.
Like there is that possibility that just in their room they thought this guy
I think that's exactly
was highest on their board. Not that they're
of course it's not. I'm smarter than you. It's a poor decision.
If you had to grade it now, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And look, like Jackson Lacombe.
Who has done
that was a poor
who has
decision
done now? They've been better lately. In the course of history, of NHL drafting, who's done worse?
Oh, they're not
all the way along.
They had Fox, Kachuk, and Dubé in the same draft class. That's
recent.
No,
go back to the 90s.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is okay. So Treliving comes in as GM. His first year, he's got someone else's scouting staff. Then he's got his own guys, and it's his drafts where you start to see him take less Berkey players.
Doesn't hold anyone accountable.
I'm literally exactly trying to hold people accountable. What I'm saying
is saying that it's not his fault because it wasn't his staff.
No, what I'm saying is that the Connie in his second draft probably had much more comfortability with the scouts and the players and the style of player he wants than he did in his first. And if you just blanket statement and say the Flames are awful at drafting, it misses a lot of really, really good draft classes like last summer's and like
but last summer's is nothing. They've done nothing.
Right. But the draft nerds that follow this love that draft class.
And it may well be.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can bring it in now.
No, I'm not saying
less than a year from draft day.
A year ago, you were saying Sam Honzek was going to be more impactful. And
I think we thought he'd be a full-time NHLer this year. You'd hope he'd be a center. No one was sure he was a top center.
What it was is that it's premature.
Yes.
Were we saying the same? What were our thoughts on Connor Zary?
Yeah.
When he was a year and change after his draft.
He was a lost cause. We didn't know. We were like, this guy's he's a non-event. It's a lost prospect. And then he makes the team.
I don't even know if we had an opinion, to be honest.
Because he was so irrelevant.
Because he was hurt and the whole thing.
And when they drafted Honzek, and again, I'm not here to defend the pick, but they understood this was more of a project than a ready-to-play guy. It's a big pro body, but there was a lot of teaching and learning that had to be done.
But you're doing that, then you better have a damn good plan of how and why he's going to get to be Honzek Kopitar. That's part of the problem.
I just don't like. Why are you drafting projects in round 1?
Yes,
do that later.
And that was kind of why the Gabe Perreault thing came up, because that's the furthest thing from
you. It's 16. You're in the middle of round 1.
Yeah.
Don't get
cute.
Don't get cute.
Yeah, and look, maybe he is a guy that takes some time, because we see it all the time. We just raved about.
I'm fine with him taking time.
We just raved about Jackson Lacombe.
You say it better than I've said it. You don't pick a project then. Not when your team doesn't have enough of anything.
And then the other side of it is, I was in love with the stats that Gabe Perreault had, and I texted multiple people in front offices. They're like, I just don't know that it's going to translate at the pro level, and it probably will. But there was a lot of doubt around him, even though the numbers were loud. We don't know what he is yet. We just have to be patient, and we want to grade things immediately. And a year out, things look good on this draft class. In 2 years, it might not look good. All you can know is that a year out, the grades are good for last summer. It means nothing for this squad right now, but it could be a really, really good draft class.
My fear for Honzek, and what you're saying, and it's probably true, is that stupidly, I thought he was going to be a big centerman. And if he's not that, I think that alone makes it. Ugh.
And we asked Connie on the floor, because he had a media avail right. There's the bleachers where the media sit, and then there's the GM tables, and there's the draped little waist high fence. And it was you and me, and I think probably Steinberg and Vickers ran the whole scrum with Connie. He didn't want to say he was a center. He was hopeful that maybe he could be. He didn't want to project when the guy was going to be ready, and he didn't want to give a player comp.
I think,
and that's fine, but it just tells you that there's an intriguing. So
they don't know what
skills.
he is or what he's.
They're hopeful, but they didn't want to curse him with saying he's Honzek Kopitar.
Yeah, I think even if it's not a center, someone in that Mikko Rantanen vein. Yeah. Big, strong, moose type, hard to defend.
Yeah, maybe winger. 30, not 50, but yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And look at the games missed. That's the part of the story we'll never know. He has not played like half a season basically with the Giants, less than half a season last year, hardly played in the NHL at the beginning of this year, and missed a bunch of time with injury again. It's 3 years in a row with significant injuries. That sucks, because that's why we gave up hope on Zary. He was a non-event in the system, and a year later made the team and was awesome when he didn't make the team. He came up after the outdoor game. They put him with Calgary Flames last year, and you're like, holy shit. Sometimes you just have to be patient and let a guy get healthy. And then he's hurt again.
Yeah.
We don't know. We really don't know.
They didn't have a first rounder.
Click on that draft class
in 2022.
Come on, hockey gods.
Click on that draft class.
Come on, hockey gods.
In 2021, their top 2 picks were Stromgren and Coronado.
Yeah, the other way around, and Coronado looks great.
The year prior, Zary and Kuznetsov.
Zary, very good. Kuznetsov looks like a serviceable third parish guy, potentially. Not amazing, but a piece.
The year prior, Jake Pelche, and didn't have a second.
Helps you get Frost Farabee. Okay. Not nothing.
2018, no first, second, or third rounder. They took Pospisil in round 4.
That's a great pick for round 4.
2017, Juuso Välimäki, Adam Ruzicka, their top 2 picks.
And Välimäki will never know injuries again. Could have been a great pick. He looked awesome in that playoff series against Colorado for a rookie.
Now we're back to 2016.
And you're talking about a Berkey.
Kachuk.
Yeah, but 2016, these should be the guys.
Well, this is. Wait for this one.
Yeah, it was Kachuk, Tyler Parsons, Dylan Dubé, Adam Fox. Parsons issues.
Yep.
Dubé issues, but played. Adam Fox has a Norris. Kachuk has a cup.
Yeah, you got a top 10 defenseman and a top 10 winger in the same draft class. That theoretically could have set you up for a decade. It just, Adam Fox said he was comfy signing anywhere, and then he wasn't after 2 dominant years of college.
Keep going, Dean. You love this.
No,
then you're into the Berkey stuff, and it gets bad. It's the
then
Hunter
it's Rasmus
Smiths and
Shillington, Mangiapane from 2015,
Yeah, the year
Bennett
before.
at 4.
It's a good class. Angela 8, nice. They're not the worst draft team in the NHL. They're not certainly the best. I would put them firmly in the middle third of the league in draft. Once you get out of the 90s. The 90s were an absolute train wreck. They were the worst in the 90s.
Who's the worst?
That's a good question. I don't know. Oilers have been pretty
You should
bad.
build an app for that team.
I know, yeah.
But there are guys that do this, and like Byron Bader's in Calgary. He's got hockeyprospecting.com, and those are the guys where when I say it's a good draft class, I'm not looking at
How much does it cost to like bump up your kid's stock with
Jeez.
Byron?
cut him a check. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah. What's his NHL?
Fax him a check.
Yeah. Fax him a check.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we got there necessarily, but it's the Ducks and Flames tonight. We've done the math.
And
93, squinting for 94.
Hey, I said 93.
Yeah.
what did the Blues say?
I said 95.
We got 6
You said
games left.
95. Yeah. They've since lost the game, and we've now got them up to 94, which is nice.
Did we get them 94? Wow.
Yeah, I'm pushing.
Good
Yeah.
work, guys.
How did you get there? There was an extra point there. So
And we took one away from
regulation against
Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Yeah, I did.
not an extra time. Yeah.
I
That's what it was.
switched them around.
Good stuff.
Am I too harsh about my
I don't think
Honzek?
so.
No, I only sort of object when you say they're trying to be smarter than everyone, because I don't think they were trying to, but it just looks like a pretty mediocre pick, right?
So how should I describe it?
A mediocre pick.
So how do you end up with if there are other guys?
If you were, one way to do it would be to find the central scouting ranks
Just look who
from,
got picked after him.
what is it, 2019? But in terms of were they going how off the board? Where did they have?
Yeah,
You guys were
Honzek?
there. Did it feel like an off the
A little
board?
bit. I think people
You just
expected him to
said
go around.
You were in Nashville.
Yeah.
You're big into stat nerd stuff. You're big into the draft. You were dialed in on it, and you didn't know who the fucking guy was.
No, I
Pardon
knew
my
who he
French.
was. I didn't think he'd be picked at 60. I thought he was a
Oh.
20 guy. Like 20 to 24 was a spot that I think a lot of places had him. I'll go look at the rankings and stuff here because I think I can find them. I think.
That constitutes, because I trust you and your brilliance, an off the board
ya?
pick. I was watching at home, and it was
Here's the scouting report from his draft class. If you give me 30
right,
seconds. Rare is a shift when Honzek's ability to protect the puck does not appear. The 6'4" winger gets and keeps defenders on his back check using body positioning to create offense instead of just brute force. He plays with a ton of finesse. Like there's a lot to like about the player. He just hasn't been healthy. And
so
he's
a
never
puck
really been a
possession
center.
guy.
He's a big hold it on the boards, puck control winger.
Well, that's how the game's played now.
It's kind of like Slavkowski a bit, but obviously a lesser version.
That's
They
really
went one
turned out. They're
overall.
raving
He's been
about
good this year.
He was first overall.
In a bad class. Better than Shane Wright, I think, at this point, right?
I wasn't comparing him to Shane Wright.
Yeah. Well, that's who they had to compare with when they made the pick. It was like him or what? Cooley was the other guy there?
But it's hard when we're really off the rails.
Mhm.
Well, what else?
So
were
when
we
you're
gonna talk
having
about?
this
The
conversation
93
about
points.
how do you get good players, how this, that, what if he's Logan or Wyatt Johnston?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if he's
totally.
already?
Well, and the other part of it is like you had another first rounder since then. It'd be tough to be lower stock on Zane Parekh than when they drafted him at 9. Like he's had a phenomenal season. He's going to play next year.
What do you mean lower stock?
Like you have to be happier. If you did a redraft today, he's probably not there at 9 because he's had such a great year. Now that might in 2 years, maybe it's not that case, but 1 year out, tiny sample, he looks like a guy you shouldn't be able to get in the 9 hole. You
I
don't
guess
see
all
guys
I'm
put up
saying-
107 points in that league ever. Never mind the 9 pick.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of guys on that same list that amounted to nothing. I just until we're 5 years out from a draft class, I don't think he can even talk.
That is the most reasonable way to grade these things. And
all
the
I'm saying
challenges
is
5
we
years.
talk
Lame
about
for
where are you going to
radio.
finish? Top 10, you got to get a draft. 16th overall is not a shit pick. Get a player.
If you want to look at the top 10 of that.
Get
draft
a
class.
player at 16.
Yeah.
And
So
that is a potential cornerstone of your franchise.
how
You look at
often-
Dallas. If that's take away your Rupe Hintz or your Wyatt Johnston or your Thomas Harley.
Yeah.
Get one of those guys.
Yeah.
And you didn't. So you're a year behind.
Well,
You're a year behind.
You're comparing yourself to one of the top 3 draft and develop clubs in the league, and you're not. So
but no, if you are going to rebuild, if you're going to use these draft picks and you have staff and this is what you're in the business of doing, and you've squandered a first-round pick if this guy doesn't play.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yep.
And you're a couple years out, and right now, the jury is very much out.
Yeah, which happens a lot at 16 in the first round, believe it or not. Like, you could look at the last 5. I bet you there's a couple just like him. Like 5 after
It's
Sam
like
Bennett.
You want to say you shouldn't have any pressure and you should never actually have to succeed and you shouldn't make.
Of course, I'm not saying that.
Well, you are though.
No,
You're saying
what
that
I'm
it's
saying
fine
is
that they F it up.
I think people think you get stars at 16 when that's the outlier. If you look at the last, say, 10 draft classes, I bet you there's 2 or 3 studs and then some role players.
I'm not saying star. I'm saying
so if he's
a guy.
So if he's a 25,
like a star means you're up for the Hart Trophy. You're
or you can
top 10. Be a top 20 scorer in the league.
But you realize that 50? Like the league's full of guys from the last 15 draft classes, and at 16 in one draft class, you're asking for a top 20 player at 16. That's wild.
Yeah, I have a harder time with it, man. You really let them.
I'm not letting anyone
really
off the
let them off the hook.
Actually reinforces my point of it's really easy to miss at 16. It's much harder to miss top 5, top 10, right? Like, we understand the lower you pick, the easier it is to miss. That's not.
But again,
something
that
people
simplifies things into saying that if you're not in the top 5, you're going to fuck it up and don't just flip a coin.
We're being very binary here. It's clearly a scale. The lower you pick, the harder it is to hit home runs. And so when we have conversations mid-season about trading Rasmus Andersson, that's why I'm so much in favor of it. Not because I don't like the player, because I do. Not because I don't think he's captain material.
We've done this dance so many times. We understand finishing lower gets you a higher pick,
so then,
a higher get it.
And now you're crushing me that
no, I'm just saying
hit at 16.
16 is not. There are a lot of teams that get good players,
and there's a lot 16. That miss at 16 too. That's my point.
Okay, well,
so that's why you need to bottom out, not retool. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.